Electric start installation on a Honda CR500 part 1. First thing you're going to want to do is take off your ignition cover. I already have these bolts loose. I just have it here showing you. You loosen those 4 bolts, Phillips head screwdriver. Then you're going to want to remove the stock flywheel nut. If you have something to hold the flywheel from turning, it makes it way easier. I have this fancy Motion Pro puller. You screw it in left hand and then it pops off. Usually you'll see the original stator right here. It's not here, but it's those 2 bolts that take it. These 2 little holes need to be plugged with some sealant because this is going to be a wet case now to hold fluid for the starter. So we use this high temp RTV silicone to fill those holes in and plug it up so that we can hold some transmission fluid on this side of the case to keep the stator and everything cool, because we're going to be running a little more electricity through it. So here's that plugged up with that silicone. We'll wait for it to dry a little bit and set and make sure that it seals up. Next we'll put that 110 watt charging stator from Pantera Motorsports with those 2 bolts. Make sure we get our timing alignment correct down there at the bottom. There's these 2 little bolts that go in there, top and bottom. And this here's a new flywheel in the one-way gear. This gear could only spin one way, allowing the bike to start but not to kick back. Here's the new ignition cover with the starter gears in it and a starter motor. And then there is the bolt that's going to hold that flywheel on. And there's a cover with these button head bolts. You take those bolts out to get the cover off, and there's 2 little gears in there. One of them is the one that comes off the starter motor to kind of divert it down to this idler gear. This idler gear puts the power to the flywheel and that one-way gear. So we'll put this new flywheel on, making sure to align it with the Woodrow key. And then we're going to put that that one-way gear on there as well, and it's got that nut right there. The nut is torqued down using a 1/2-inch drive breaker bar. Pantera gives you this tool to hold the flywheel from turning while you're tightening it down. So you'll get the breaker bar on there and then the breaker bar on the nut and get it tight. Pretty handy tool that they give you here. It's also handy for taking the flywheel off. One thing to note is those electrical wires, it will need to be trimmed down where that big rubber grommet is, right there. You're going to have to trim that down because there's not enough clearance right there and it does rub up against the flywheel. This concludes part 1 of the electric start kit installation. Hope you're back for part 2.